So let's
or
talk
it
about
currently
Ethereum
has with
dominance, because I
scalability.
actually have real numbers. I went and talked to the State of the dApps
Yeah, let's do
guys.
it.
I got these reports and these other things. So I was actually curious, like, what is, when Joe Lubin runs around and says it's inevitable, Ethereum's won, they're the markets did.
Right.
We don't even try, we've won. I said, okay, how many dApps are there? According to the data I have, there's about 3,800 dApps that are floating around in crypto land. Around 3,000 are on Ethereum. Okay, so 800 are not. And then you actually look at active dApps, most of the active dApps by value and transaction volume are on Ethereum, about 81%. Okay, great. And so then the trends you look at is you say, how many of the top 15 dApps on Ethereum are looking to either migrate or become multi-chain? All of them have flirted with that, and several are actively pursuing that. Then you look in 2020 for deployment, and you say, okay, how many new dApps are deployed on Ethereum versus alternative platforms? Only 31% of new dApps were deployed on Ethereum, compared to 69%, 2/3 not deployed on Ethereum. Yeah. So what does that tell you? It's Windows. It's Windows to Android and iOS. So Microsoft had a monopoly. They had the the application ecosystem. But then everybody said, why are we developing on Windows? We should be iOS first. We should be Android first. Yeah. And maybe we'll deploy on Windows if we can get around to it. So every year they're losing momentum. Every year they're losing developers. And the network value they have is becoming multi-chain. So it's no longer beholden or loyal to Ethereum because it's simply too expensive to run on that infrastructure. This is why Vitalik's cracking the whip every day on F2. And he's really pushing hard to get it out because he knows that the longer this goes on, the less network effect he has. And once he's lost it, it's gone, because there's much more compelling reasons to be on any of these platforms, Polkadot or Cardano or Tezos.
So Vitalik with a whip, could he actually hurt someone with that or not?
It depends on how long he listens to Devo.
Vitalik, we love you too. Please come on the show. Hey, Charles is our favorite. He comes on. I'm just saying. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's talk about
Bitboy. What's up, V?
That's right. Absolutely, man. We're so glad to have you. Such a good conversation we had, an interview we had a few weeks ago, and it was fun. I do want to go back though, because the decentralization is very important. It's a very big conversation. I want to go back to ETH 2.0. And I want you, from obviously you're co-founder of Ethereum, you are founder of Cardano, you understand what the big problems are with Ethereum in its current state. If Ethereum 2.0 goes off without a hitch, it works perfectly. What is the difference of the value between Ethereum and Cardano, if that's perfect? Because I mean, Cardano seeks to solve all the problems that were created with a way that Ethereum was created in the beginning, or the way it developed. What's going to be the difference? How is Cardano going to be better than Ethereum if ETH 2.0 is perfect?
Well, we've chosen radically different scaling models. And actually, I think both of them have a potential of working, but I think Vitalik's are a little bit riskier from an engineering and research viewpoint, which is why it's been so difficult for them to get ETH2 out. They've chosen to shard lots
with the
of
sharding
stuff.
Specifically?
Yeah, they've chosen to shard all this stuff, and we don't have to shard. We still can get 1,000 TPS on the base level, and then adding in Hydra, we can get to whatever we want. So first off, and by the way, there are accounting model differences between Ethereum and Cardano, and because of UTXO, Cardano actually is much easier to shard, whereas accounts are much harder. So they've put themselves in a situation where they're betting on like optimistic ZK rollups and like sharding tech and these other things, and that's very brittle and fragile, and the science is not very good yet. And there are a lot of trade-offs there. They actually go from a half to a third Byzantine fault tolerance, and there are availability problems, and there's probably all kinds of new attacks that are going to occur. And so it's a much more complex system under the hood. And it's not clear to me if that much more complex system is actually going to result in higher throughput and scalability. That's why we chose the approach we chose. But, let's say it works. Okay. They still have a big issue of governance. There is no on-chain governance system, whereas we in Tezos have that. And I think that's actually the biggest issue, because there's two layers of problems. One is, how do you upgrade the base layer and pay for stuff? And the bigger you get, the harder that gets if there's no governance system. So you lose your competitive edge, you lose your ability to upgrade. And we see this with Bitcoin. All the Bitcoin people are brilliant people, but they can't get smart contracts in. They can't get side chains, and they can't get obviously good things like NePal into Bitcoin because it's just too hard to upgrade anything. SegWit was like resulted in the birth of Bitcoin Cash, and that's a minor thing. Right. all things considered.
Yeah.
So if you don't have on-chain governance,
No pun
that
intended.
really hurts you there. The other thing is the DApp ecosystem, they all need governance. If you're MakerDAO and all these other
Yeah.
guys, you're like, we need to build a DAO. We need to build some sort of voting system. We don't want a centralized entity curating DeFi. And Ethereum offers them
Yeah, of
nothing.
course.
So each and every DApp has to build its own solution. Whereas the same things we built for our governance system in Cardano are reusable for any token issued on Cardano at some point. So when you do your DeFi, you can use our voting system as your voting system. That simple. It's very easy for us to get to that point, much, much harder. And our voting systems that we've constructed are built by cryptographers and academics, and they're tested in the real world at scale. So they're not only cheap, but they're secure and right. And we have lots of great social dynamics there. So I think it's less about scalability. That's what everybody's talking about. And it's
Yeah.
much more about governance when we look the next 3 to 5 years. And we have a massive advantage along with the Tezos guys in that respect, because we made it a priority. Then it's also a lot of the intermediate stuff requires very sophisticated protocol design in crypto.
Mhm.
We have a huge advantage there too, because we have all the scientists and all the research centers, and we've been building on granite. So every time we write something, we add another layer and add another, and it's very solid. Whereas Ethereum, they keep redesigning things. And so anytime they want to change
Yeah.
anything, they have to kind of like throw it all away and then start over again. And it's getting a little bit better, but there was a long time that Casper was in development hell, where people kept
I
asking me,
remember.
like, compare Ouroboros to Casper. I was like, well, which one? There's like 5 of them.
Yeah.
And none of them work.
Uh-huh.
So eventually they got to some solidity there, and that's great. But there's a long way to go. And then finally, the smart contract development model. I did a video called The Ocean, the Pond, and the Island. I think we have a much better, more realistic approach to bringing in mainstream developers. When you look at the numbers, there are 22.6 million developers in the world. And I think only about 80,000 are Solidity developers. A very, very, very small group of
Yeah.
people
Tiny.
are actually doing Solidity development. So who are the big ones? Java, C#, C, C++, JavaScript. So how do you bring those guys in to your ecosystem? Well, if you have a beautiful
Plutus.
model for on-chain, off-chain, and what we've done with Yella and semantics-based compilation, the ocean part of our strategy, we, within a reasonable time horizon, a 3 to 5 year time horizon, can have a path to bring all those 22.6 million developers into Cardano. So I think from a testing and correctness viewpoint, we win because we embrace formal methods early. I think we win from a diversity viewpoint because we can bring non-blockchain diversity into our space. I think we thought about the off-chain, on-chain model much better than they thought about it. And we have better solutions in that respect. And Plutus is one of the best examples of that. I think we thought about the token issuance experience by making tokens first-class citizens instead of just smart contracts, and meaning that they can reuse all the Cardano infrastructure that ADA can use. I think we thought about governance a lot better, and we took a less risky approach on consensus that I think will achieve the same throughput, but actually be much more manageable and have higher security. So in other words, we kicked their ass in terms of architecture. So it's a question of growth. Can we actually get the growth there? And that's what we're doing this year. We're fighting hard, man. And we're gonna see how far we can go.
So out of everything, there's so much that you guys have going on right now. But I want to know what is and I don't know, maybe Plutus. Sounds like you love Plutus. Everybody loves it. That knows about Cardano. But what to you is the very, very, very most exciting thing about Cardano right now?
Well, a Catalyst is one of the most exciting things because that's like a giant decentralized VC in the sky. And at the current funding level, it's over $100 million will be available by the end of this year. And anybody can come. It's not controlled by a human being. It's controlled by the Cardano ecosystem. You can submit a ballot, ideascale.cardano.com. You can just go submit a ballot, and then boom, you got the ability to get people to vote on that and fund it. Already 11 companies have been funded for different ventures. The next round is coming, probably 2 or 3 times as much. So I imagine by the end of the year, probably several hundred ventures and projects will get some funding from Catalyst. And what's nice about that is it's the beginning of a decentralized government. So it gets me super excited because it's like it turns us into the Borg. Even if we didn't invent it in-house, we have a mechanism to absorb it and adopt it in Cardano at some arbitrary point. And the funding will be there to get it there. And if you don't like me, well, you could go and become a Cardano core developer and ask for some money to go build something, and you don't need my approval. The community can do that. So that to me is like the closest thing to the egalitarian decentralized vision that Satoshi had of one CPU, one vote. well, one ADA, one vote. And you're now in a position where each and every person can have an opinion about the direction, the priorities, and the teams that are going to get Cardano to the next level. And because tech is tech, and we fight that better than most. And, that's great, but that doesn't really matter in the long term. You can have substandard technology and still be the market leader. Look at Bitcoin. What really matters is how do you manage your social dynamics, your community, and what growth factors do you have in to preserve your community and continue to grow that community instead of having it fracture. And I think we got that right. And this year we're going to really, turbocharge that, get it where it needs to go.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know who they is that created this metric, but a metric I saw said the number 2 overall engaged community in cryptocurrency is Elron. I know that because I did an Elron video. I like eGold. Number 1, Cardano. So you guys have done a great job at developing the community. I know you got to be so proud of that.